Ollie Pope cannot see the ball. It's somewhere above him. He has sunglasses on, well, on top of his hat. The lights are on at Edgbaston too, but it's weirdly actually quite sunny. And so instead of completing an easy catch, the ball lands behind him. The delivery before Schubing Gill has clanged the ball into the Holly stand so far and so hard that it bounces back onto the ground. The next ball, Joe Root misses the pitch and bowls a no ball. The following over, there is a fake declaration as the chants of boring, boring India rattles around the stadium. Of course, at that point, Gill clatters another six into the grandstand that bounces again back onto the ground, and then is out turning Bashir into the leg side of the leading edge when it felt like Bashir might never get another wicket again. There was another fake declaration happening, and then the chants of boring, boring India happen again. This all happens in the space of 7 minutes. And no one will ever remember any of it because this test has been so damn wacky and wild all the way through. There have been better test matches, but there have been few ever anywhere near as weird as this one. Test cricket has jumped a shark into a vat of acid and come out the other side a lumpen mess of colour and shapes. It is as entertaining as it is bizarre. A grotesque and wonderful celebration of utter nonsense. Brian Lara used pot plants to work on his placement. John Wright glued his glove to his bat. Sachin Tendulkar dug up practice pitches. Tatenda Taibu cut the top off his bat. Claire Taylor used a hockey grip. Steve Smith was from tennis. Dean Jones would call phantom runs. And Victor Trumper turned the nets into a war zone to survive. The best batters in the world do whatever they have to make runs. We have told their stories in our new book, The Art of Batting. England lost 2 wickets in an over 3 times, and in the middle of that, they made a gazillion runs. It was stupid. We saw it. We all know that it made absolutely no sense. Many times, England will make it look like they cannot bat. And then for one partnership or a session, they look like the greatest team ever. That is this side. Part chaos, part throwing up in your mouth, and all of it with glorious uncertainty and wild glee. At one point, we have to admit that Jamie Smith, or someone else, might finally break Gilbert Jessup's stupid record of the fastest 100 ever for an England player, which has remained in place for more than 100 years. Simon Watt actually has a book coming out on it in time for the Oval Test called Chasing Jessup. And Smith was chasing him, and he was, again, worried that he might need a rewrite. But England haven't been chasing him. They've been stalking the old fella. Barely a test goes without someone mentioning the record because one of England's many maniacs is lighting themselves on fire and just going out there to bat. And yet, even with all of this attacking, some of them are making massive runs. And by some of them, I mean Jamie Smith, who's doing both. He has the second highest average of any wicketkeeper with 800 runs. The man is suddenly A.B. de Villiers out of nowhere. And he was batting with Harry Brook, who currently has the 5th best average in the history of the game. And you'd be forgiven for thinking at this point that this team is absolutely awesome with the bat. But remember that their entire total was those 2 guys. In fact, they're the only ones to have made any runs in this match for England. The rest of the time, they've been absolute rubbish. They basically just flip a coin and hope for the best. But Schubing Gill made Brook and Smith almost obsolete. You could barely remember their innings. Because in the first knock he was incredible, and in the second innings he was on rails and he added some excellent striking as well. At one stage, he was catching up to Jessup, which I suppose is easier because of the amount of times the wicketkeeper batter actually threw his bat away. Modern players, they don't need Willow, just vibes. Gill now holds the record for the most runs in a test from number 4. But he also didn't go that far from breaking Graham Gooch's all-time record. I mean, there is making runs, and then there is passing 400 runs in a match by slogging the ball into the crowd so hard that it just bounces off someone and comes back onto the surface. The entire thing is completely batshit crazy. But here is 2 other things that you need to know, because I now know them, and so I'm sorry, you just have to. 161 is now the highest, lowest score by a batter in a test match. Think about that. And Gill made 430 runs in this test, and only 3 times did Sachin Tendulkar do more than that in a series. The world has changed, people. Gill is now the only person to have scored a double century and 150 in the same match. And I do feel like at a certain point, I've just started to make things up and you're going to have to go back and fact check them. And it is already the highest total by an Indian captain in a debut series, and he's only batted 4 times. As for his team, well, of course, they set some records as well. This is the most runs that India have ever scored in a match. And it's beating second place by quite a lot as well. India have a great history of big scores, flat wickets, and incredible batters. And yet they've just lapped themselves here. It's also the 3rd most runs in a test match ever. Now, Kingston, that was a timeless test, so you can almost throw that one away. And Faisalabad, that was flatter than hell. And say what you want about this wicket, it is not the world's biggest road ever in human existence. And so one of the reasons that India have scored the most runs on it is because they've scored so fast, which has actually even given themselves a chance at winning a game. Generally, when you score this many runs, you don't win. And because of all that, it's the fastest scoring 1,000 runs from a team in the history of our sport. They had to beat Australia at the Oval. That was a game where Don Bradman hit a runnable double century. Piss off, Don. The kids don't want your records anymore. But now we've talked about the batters. How about we talk about some bowlers? Well, Shoaib Bashir in this match became the equal highest spin bowler in terms of economy with anyone with more than 3,800 balls. And yes, that's not as nice a record as some of the other ones we're talking about, but it does help explain why India are scoring so quickly in this test match. But it's not just him, England's scoring quick as well. And poor Prashid Krishna is also struggling. He's going for absolutely tons of runs. Maybe India shouldn't make him bowl bouncers before they actually move the fielders out next time. Just a thought, we can workshop that. What about poor Zach Crawley? He now holds the record as the lowest average of any opener in Test cricket history. Yet somehow the worst thing Crawley did in this test was slide tackle Joe Root on the boundary. If you can't average 32, mate, don't go studs in on one of the best to ever do it, Zach. The truth is though, that modern Test cricket moves in such violent shifts that it seems like almost anything is possible, and this game is a perfect example of it all. India fans at the ground were still thinking there was a chance that England could roll them even when 600 was set. And when Ben Duckett started slapping the ball everywhere, there was genuine concern on the faces of some of the Indian fans. Any other time, the story would be, why are you batting like that when you should be trying to block out a draw? But we all know the why, because baseball. Because of what India did to Bangladesh. Because modern Test cricket is so goddamn weird at the moment. Sure, England to win this Test match would have to beat the first-class world record by a load. And yes, they are already 3 wickets down because they are attacking all over the place. In a normal era of Tests, they would be leaving all of their shots at the hotel room tomorrow and just blocking the shit out of the balls. Oh, but that is not the world we live in, is it? I mean, today, not only did I have to look up the biggest chase in Test cricket history, I had to look up the biggest chase in first-class cricket history, because nothing in Test cricket makes any sense anymore. Because even though you know India should win this easily tomorrow, or England somehow draw with a little bit of help from rain perhaps, there is a chance that India chase it, because why the fuck not? And why the fuck not is what Test cricket seems to say to every question right now. The 5-day game is just colours, shapes, and forms that create vibes rather than anything depicting the sport that was once played in whites. Welcome to Test cricket's abstract era.
Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today.